Just watch everything for Pride. That's the bottom line.
If you don't, you're homophobic.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi guys, welcome to LoveCast, the Boys Love podcast. I'm your host, Alexa, and with me are my other hosts, Pixie and Kayla.
Hey.
So it's Pride Month, and we're back again this year to give some of our recommendations for BLs that we think everyone should be watching during Pride this year. And this time we're joined by one of the OG BL reactors and content creators, Alyx.
Hey.
Hi.
Yes. So we were just talking about how this has been like a really long time coming from both ends. So I feel like we're really excited. And I feel like everyone who is watching or listening to our podcast probably knows who you are, but on the off chance that someone doesn't, do you want to do like a little introduction to yourself and your content and everything like that?
Sure. Oh my God, I'm over here trying to touch my hair and my headphones in the way. Hi. I was like, okay. I'm Alyx. Nice to meet everyone. I run a YouTube channel that is very dry right now. It's drier. You know what? Let me keep it PG. But anyways, drier than my love life. But content's coming. It'll come. Mm-hmm. I just run my Patreon, full-time Patreon right now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you want to see my little hoe era, go to my Twitter.
I live for your tweets lately.
I know, right? I'm like, you know what? Let's spice it up.
It's what the people need, honestly. But yeah, so I mean, you're still putting out a lot of content because you're posting on Patreon like all the time. So the real people know where the content is.
Yeah, I mean, that is my full-time job. I'm grateful that this became my job. You know, content creating, like BL content creating. But yeah, Patreon is definitely 6 days a week. It's popping.
Yeah. I could never. So more power to you. Yes, so we'll leave all your links and stuff so people can check you out, of course. Yeah, but I guess just kind of like hopping into our theme of the episode. So we did an episode of What to Watch This Pride last year with Javi, who was also a reactor and content creator. And we just kind of like went on a whim and kind of talked about shows we thought were good, like in terms of representation and stuff like that. But we wanted to switch it up a little bit this year. So Heather kind of came up with the idea of theming our recommendations around the Progress Pride flag. So for anyone who might not know, the Progress Pride flag is the version of the Pride flag that also is trans inclusive and Black and brown individual inclusive. So it's like one of the more current versions of the Pride flag, and we're trying to make it more commonly used throughout the community. So basically Heather's idea was to kind of theme your recommendation to a color on the Progress flag, however that might be. So for example, tying it to like a character name, like white and black are colors on the flag, but you could also tie that to like characters in Not Me, white and black, or an actual color, like vice versa, I feel like is kind of like really ties into it because it's all color themed and can tie into the flag that way. Or it could tie into like the actual meanings of each color on the flag. Each flag has a different meaning. Each color has a different meaning, so you could tie it in that way. So basically just like however we deem fit. I feel like we're all kind of gonna tie things together in different ways, which will be interesting to see. And yeah, like usually we just kind of round robin it, and I thought as long as we can get like at least one recommendation for each color on the flag or each theme on the flag, it would be good. So yeah, I don't know. I guess if we want to go in like color order, we would start with red. I don't know if we just kind of like whoever wants to go first, if someone is like really jumping to give their recommendation for red or anything.
I'm nervous.
You know, I always live on like the spontaneous edge here with never having notes. The thing when I like read the color red, the first thing that popped into my mind was semantic error.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Like red right away. I mean, red is like the theme of that show.
That is smart. I struggled with red, but that's a smart one. Yeah. For mine for red, I kind of went with the meaning of the flag, that color on the flag. So red's meaning on the progress flag is life. And when I thought of life, I thought of life, love on the line, which is the Japanese BL. So I don't really think that I guess it kind of fits the theme of life in general, but like I was more like associating with the title. And I was like, life, love.
I mean, that show is a large like slice of life show.
That's true.
Like literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does go through like his entire life. So
Yes.
I think
That's
it
true.
counts.
Ups and downs.
Yeah, so for red, I went with like a meaning, and I wanted to recommend Moonlight Chicken, which might sound very random, but as we've said before, this is like a series that kind of depicts that everyday life of working class people in Thailand. And like we have Jim's character who makes do with what he has and is juggling some financial struggles with his restaurant and is also acting as a guardian to his nephew. And I just feel like that's such an authentic experience. And for a lot of people, that is life. And for him as like a gay man, that is his life. And we also see like with his nephew, there are like 2 different generations of queer representation in there that I just feel are very realistic to life. So that's why I thought of that for red.
Good one.
Good one. Oh my God, I guess it's my turn.
It's your
But I have notes.
Yeah.
I was like, let me get into it. But
Yes, I
was
love
like,
it.
I'm back in school. I hate it here. But I was like, this is really helpful. I was actually talking to Kayla last night because I was like, what did you choose? Because like I'll just like maybe get inspired by what you did. But yeah, it was just like when she's talking about life, I was like, or she mentioned like maybe you could say something that has real like pretty good decent representation for like queer life. And I was like, okay. So it kind of got me thinking, and I chose the Pinoy BL Gaya sa Pelikula. Because that is the only BL that I've seen that actually unlocked my trauma from like personal experiences. Because I feel like it was directed, and I think it was done by people who were gay. So like they were able to like show maybe some of their own things. And I was like, why did this hit really close to home? And I don't know if anyone's seen my reaction on YouTube, but like I was crying. Yes. And my friend with me was like, she was like, I don't know what it feels like. I could never feel it because I'm not a man, I'm not gay. But I was like, I'm sure like this is something very like close to home. And I was like, girl, I was going through it. So I feel like that's kind of where I went with like the queer life experience.
Yeah.
True to life,
You saying Gaya sa Pelikula, the only thing I can think of now is Alexa, when we started this podcast, I was trying to get you to see that show and you wouldn't. I'm going to get to it.
I was so
good.
skeptical of the Pinoy BLs, I feel like, at first. And like between like that and Game Boys, like between Kayla and Pixie, I was like, I know I need to watch both of these. But when I finally did watch it, I feel like I had a very like similar like emotional reaction to just like every aspect of it. And like I forced my younger sibling to watch it. Like I was just like, everyone needs to see this masterpiece. So I can get on.
Yeah, I think we spent like a whole episode talking about it once you finally watched
it.
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Okay. What is the next? Orange. Orange comes next in the rainbow. So orange, the meaning is healing on the flag. So I kind of went the easy route with that and I actually went with a movie that I felt was really healing. And I guess I'm kind of on like a Japanese BL kick right now because I chose the film Restart after Come Back Home, which I don't know if many people have watched it. It was like a very like low key film. I think it came out in 2020. but it's basically about like this person like leaving the city, leaving Tokyo and going back to like his little home country and kind of healing his relationship with his hometown, with his father, and through working on this farm, which he ends up falling in love with one of the people who works on the farm, which is where the romance comes in. And the romance is like very low key, but I just felt like it's probably the daddy issues in me, like healing the relationship with like your father and stuff like that. Those kind of shows will always get to me, especially with a queer character. And I just like remember watching it. It was like height of the pandemic time, and it was like late at night, and I just like sat there after and was just like sitting in the feelings, and it all felt like very like calming to me. So I thought that one really fit in with like a theme of healing.
Yeah. For me, it's from two different sides. One is that like I felt watching the show was really healing. At the same time, there's like a heavy underlying like healing to the story, which is the Eighth Sense.
Yeah.
I haven't finished it.
Oh no.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. No, but just in general, the show was so, and it's like a really beautiful story, but it showcases trauma in not a traumatic way. Do you know what I mean? And I just, it felt, even though it's like dark storylines at times, like it just feels healing to watch.
Yeah. It's like displaying trauma without like re-traumatizing the characters, if that makes sense. Like he's already traumatized, so it's more like him working through that trauma, like, instead of like repeatedly putting him through more trauma, if that makes sense. Yeah, if that's kind of what you were going for.
It's like a healing journey kind of thing. Yeah
Even like him going to a therapist, sometimes it feels like the therapist character is speaking directly to you.
Yeah.
So I get it from that angle too. Well, for Orange healing, I had to pick Bed Friend. I'm like such a Bed Friend stan. But I recommend this for healing because this series is like essentially about healing more than any other thing that goes on. So like the main character, Ua, has endured a lot of abuse throughout his life. Like he was abused by his stepdad, his ex-boyfriend, and even like currently his boss at his job. And as like a trauma response to that, he's very hypersexual, which comes into play with the idea of friends with benefits. And it's funny because we always say, like, this character needs therapy, but Ua's character is literally in therapy. Yeah. Which I feel like we never really see other than maybe in the Eighth Sense. And yeah, what I like about this series in terms of healing is that I feel like he isn't healed by somebody else's love. You know, like the power of love doesn't heal his mental health. But it's more so him loving himself enough to want to try to help himself. And of course, like the comfort that his love interest in the show gives him helps a lot. But I really love that it's not the be all end all to his healing process. Yeah. So I do like really recommend this show, but go into it in the mindset that you're actually going to see this character be re-traumatized. Dude. Because it's a lot. Like, even for me, it was a lot.
I watched the first episode, and, like, I feel like this is a show that really could have benefited from, like, putting trigger warnings. Like, I watched the first episode, and I was like, I could not go any further. And, like, I've never ended up going back to it, but, like, seeing the way, like, you have talked about it, Kayla, makes me really want to. But, like, the first episode, I was not prepared. So you definitely, like, need to be prepared before you go into it.
Yeah.
I guess it's my turn.
Yes.
Well, you guys' picks were like really thought out, and like I was like, oh, I see it. My pick is not like that intense. I kind of just went with maybe,
like
kind of just but like your guys was really good. I really liked how you guys explained it. Because mine's more like, oh, like the character maybe had some sort of trauma and like it kind of got like fixed at the end. That's kind of what I went with. Because like, let me think lighter. But also I kind of wanted to include this series because I'm just obsessed with it. But I put our dating sim.
Ooh, yeah.
Only because, you know, you see a character like acknowledging his feelings but then running away because he's not sure how it'll, you know, the situation will unfold. But then you also see another character who, because of the situation, got put into trauma for like being left alone there. So it's kind of like that's kind of how I thought about this color. So that's kind of it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I agree. Yeah. I think like Our Dating Sim was one of the shows that actually like I've been in a slump for a while, and it was one of the shows that actually got me really engaged again. So everyone should watch it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. No, I definitely like agree with what you said about running away from your feelings and kind of coming back and healing from that at the end. So I love that show.
Like everything came together and I was like, this is so good. I watched it like 3 times. I was like, it's too good.
So good. But yeah, definitely not all of mine are like that deep and introspective. Like some of the connections I made were just like so random, and I was like, this works. So
I am quite literally shooting from the hip here. So it's just
I've never heard that phrase before in my life. Shooting from the hip.
Yeah, you haven't heard that?
No.
Is that a Norwegian thing?
I was like shot in the dark, kind of, but I was like, I've never heard shooting from the hip before. But like, really? Interesting.
Did I make that up?
Maybe.
Trademark it. It's yours now, bestie.
It's Pixies. Okay, so next was yellow. Yes. And the flag meaning for yellow was new ideas. So I kind of took that as shows that take on new themes or kind of did something out of the box in some way. And so for that I chose Game Boys because I feel like Game Boys just kind of like not only did it revolutionize and like start Pinoy BL, but also just like the format of the show I feel like is something that obviously we had never been in a pandemic before, so it was not something we ever had, at least not in our generation, something we ever had to like try and do and see how we would create content in. But just like the format of like doing the video calls and kind of relating it to the actual real world situation that was going on in that time, and then how that kind of transferred into them like meeting in real life later down the line and stuff like that. I just thought it was like something so different and something that's never since been really replicated to that same level in BL.
They've tried.
It's tried, but like nothing has hit the same way. Exactly. Yeah. The same way Game Boys did. So that's why I chose that one.
Yeah, dude, you stole my show.
It was bound to happen.
No, I was literally
notes and be
it was literally the same thing I was thinking. I mean, there's nothing like it, and they've tried to replicate it. It's not happening. It's one of a kind, and I was so surprised watching it because I didn't think I was gonna like it. I didn't think that I could manage to watch a show where they're actually not touching each other or being in the same room even. And feel love or commitment or tension or anything. And it was just so well done. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, everyone knows I'm a Game Boy stan, so there's nothing I can add that I haven't already said. For new ideas, I took it very literally and chose step by step. And also because I kind of wanted to promo Step by Step because it's like my favorite show right now.
Same.
But yeah, I chose this series simply based on the premise because you have this character, Jang, who is the head of his own department at his father's marketing company. And he kind of wants to bring the company into the modern era by making it more progressive. But the problem is that he tends to micromanage everything that his employees do, which results in them kind of like not respecting him because he's just this guy that comes in and wants to like change everything in his vision. But then you have the new hire, Pat, who comes in and brings a new perspective that like totally clashes with Jang's. But eventually, Jang starts to see the value in listening to Pat and the other employees and actually like trusting them with the ideas that they bring to the table for their marketing strategies. So very literally, but
yeah. No, I like the way you connected that. Also, everyone watch Step by Step. It's so good.
Yes.
Me and Kayla just cry about it every week. It's fine.
Number one Jang lover.
We know you haven't watched it yet, Pixie. This is not directed at you.
So for
I feel
Yellow,
like an outcast, by the way.
don't worry, I'm only in episode 4, so you're fine.
Okay.
For Yellow, I didn't put anything down. I could not think of anything. But now that you guys said stuff, I was like, oh, that makes kind of sense now that I think about it.
That's fair. I have one that I didn't put anything down for either, so we'll get there eventually. But yeah, some of them are really hard to like connect things with, honestly.
Yeah. I was like, I was looking at other meanings for the color yellow, and I was like, oh my god, what have I watched that could be like this? I don't know.
It's so broad that you don't even like know what to put.
Yellow isn't like a color you see a lot in BL.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
No. Yeah. I haven't really seen anything with a lot of like yellow. You know who does have an episode surrounded by about yellow? Vice versa.
Vice versa.
So you know what, friends? This is gonna be my weekly vice versa plug. Go watch
Like you could literally say vice versa for like every single one of these colors.
Because I literally have a note here that I was gonna bring up at the end that just vice versa as a whole works because they have an episode themed around almost every color on this flag. So like
technically the moon and the eclipse is kind of yellow.
Now let's talk about a reach.
Me trying to connect the dots.
Okay. No,
So let me reach out.
I'm not gonna lie, I almost put Moonlight Chicken for that same reason. Like the moon is yellow.
Oh my god.
Am I just imagining this, or did Why Destiny have something with colors?
They did.
They
because
did.
Isn't each like day of the week had like
different colors.
Own color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't remember who was yellow though.
There you go.
Idea.
That's my pick.
That's
All of
pick.
Why
Why
Destiny.
I actually did like that series. I mean, it's 2 episodes per couple, but like everything was very different.
Well, it is like a new idea.
Yeah, it was a new idea.
Like they did it.
There we go. Actually, or like
Connecting the
more of
dots.
why.
It works.
More why.
Yes. idea.
I thought about putting that.
Exposing everything, new ideas.
Teamwork. We figured one out for you together.
Thank you guys. Teamwork, Mr. Dreamwork.
Teamwork making teamwork. Yes. Okay, so green. So the meaning for green on the flag is prosperity, and so like I was gonna do something about like wealth or like rich people, and then I was like, that is so many BLs that like they're all like exponentially
They're all
healthy.
rich.
Everyone with a big house in the pool.
Yeah. So I ended up going like a very basic route, and I kind of took Heather's suggestion of like associating it with a character who's named after a color, and so I thought of green, and so I went to Together because honestly green is iconic. So honestly like I think Together is just like such a fun, easy watch, whether it's not the best thing in the world, but you know, it was what we needed in the times of the early pandemic, and so like I still have a lot of nostalgia tied to it for that reason. And I just think green was so fun once you got past like the like the yelling aspect of his character. Like I
love that part of him.
It's like he was
he
fun.
was stalkerish in the beginning. Like
yeah, you know, he pushed it a little bit too far, but I just thought his character was so fun, and I love that the actor who plays that character in real life. I think he's amazing. So I went with green, and so I got to together from that. So
I am quite literal in my idea of what to suggest here, and that is oh god, 1,000 Stars. There's a lot of green.
because of like the forest.
nature.
Yeah.
There's a lot of green, and isn't he wearing like a green uniform half the time?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the show was like beautifully shot, and there's so many like nice locations, and I love forests and green, and just yeah, I love it.
That works.
So that's why, not deep,
Yeah.
but
Deep.
Yeah.
and technically he was Tien was rich,
Tien.
so
That's true.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Prosperity.
Oh, yeah. So I'm gonna need you guys to not clock me for this next one, but
I'm ready.
I put Cutie Pie to you. Specifically, Cutie Pie to you.
I'll let you
Because-
explain it.
When I hear the word prosperity, I think of it spiritually. And like a big tradition in so many Asian cultures is wishing people health and prosperity when they're entering a new stage of life. And this especially applies to Lian's family because they have Chinese heritage. So in the original series, we saw them hold this like big prosperity birthday party for his dad. And then in the special, we see Lian's parents wishing Lian and Kua for health and prosperity because they're finally getting married. So that is why. And I also do feel like this special highlights that prosperity is more than just like a monetary thing. Because initially I thought of it from like a money perspective, and I was going to put something like kin Porsche or whatever. but I feel like it shows that like when you're entering a new stage in your life, there's just like this wish for people to have more abundance and stuff in their marriage or a birthday or something like that. And I just really like seeing the tradition and the cultural aspect of that play out with the Thai Chinese heritage, because I think that's like a really interesting thing historically. So that's why I put Cutie Pie to you. It wasn't because I wanted to promo them again.
Not at all.
I see this has happened before.
I
Yeah.
wonder.
we all have our shows that we make our
Yeah.
entire personality.
Me with Love Mechanic.
As
No,
you're
I
wearing your
love Love
yin shirt.
Mechanics.
I love them so much. My parents.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so when I saw green and I was looking, I was like, okay, what does this mean? And I saw like the wealth and stuff. I was like, money. But then I also saw happiness in there, and I was like, oh, like happiness. Okay, so I actually chose Love Mate, which is a Korean BL that just finished airing. And the reason I chose this because maybe major spoilers, I don't know, but it was like the story is about someone who doesn't believe in love, and they're going through this journey of like falling with the feeling of love. I don't even know if that makes sense. But I think there's like you get to see that he's been traumatized by an ex, and that's why he was like, I'm better off just dating people one time, never seeing them again, not dealing with that feeling of, you know, feeling more than I should. But I like how I feel like at the end the character comes to terms with like, you know what, I'm not gonna let this define me anymore. Like I want to be happy. I'm gonna choose the person I want to be with and be happy. So I was like, oh, happiness. Happiness by Red Velvet. But anyways,
That's what I was thinking about.
but yeah, I mean, there was a scene in the end where he went to his ex, and I was like, oh, he's gonna like cuss him out. He's like, you know what, you don't have a hold on me, because he was manipulating him still till this day. And you know what? He just dumped some water on him and left. And I was like, you know what? that's strong. Because you're like, you're not even worth my words. Not even a breath can be wasted on you. I'm just done. And I was like, all right, I like that. I think that's why I chose it.
Yes. Happiness is... See, I didn't even pull up like happiness when I was looking at meanings for those. So I'm glad that
said, like,
you pulled that out.
Health, happiness. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Yes.
It all goes together.
Okay. So blue on the flag. So the meaning of blue on the flag is serenity. But I feel like we couldn't not have blue and have someone say blooming. So that was my pick, literally blooming. But also I feel like there's a lot of like blue color symbolism throughout the show. I mean, I'm particularly thinking of like the love scene at the beach where like the whole thing is like doused in that blue lighting and it's like really beautifully done and stuff like that. And you know, you could make an argument that like the characters who have both gone through their own trauma kind of find serenity in those moments that they have together, if you really want to like tie it back to the meaning of the flag. But I really just like chose it because blue was in the title. I was like, blue blooming. We have to give a shout out to Hwang Da-sul at some point in our episode.
Always.
So that's why that was my pick. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, the thing that pops up right in my head is I joked about this earlier, but the eclipse. This because there's so much trauma and chaoticness about their whole story. But when they're finally together and finally like accepting their relationship together, there's like this serenity that just comes over both of them. And you can see it in the last shot when they're on the boat together, and it mirrors the shot from the beginning when Ak is alone on the boat, and then they're at the end together, and you can just like look at their faces, and it's just serenity, and they're on a boat and the ocean, and just like the shot in itself is so beautiful, and yeah, serene.
Beautiful.
I was just like,
Yeah,
what is the word?
What is the word?
When it's not serenity?
Yes, serene. You got this. Serene.
I got this. English.
For blue, I have two of them because I took one kind of literally and the other as a meaning. So for my first one, I thought of my school president. And I didn't write anything about this because I felt like it was self-explanatory that this kind of harkens back to our episode about like the comforting shows and shows that you find comforting personally. And when I think of like comfort, I think of peace and serenity, and my school president is definitely up there on the list when it comes to just like feel good BLs that you could watch and not really stress out about. The other one I thought of was My Beautiful Man because I've talked about before how much blue is in it. There's so much blue. Like everything is blue. And the fact that there are so many different shades of blue that match each mood of each scene is really cool. And of course, like those type of production things they're elements that really stick out to me. So that's my other one. Pretty literal actually with both of them.
Yeah. I agree. Like, I didn't even think about My Beautiful Man, dude. That fits so well into it.
Good picks. So I actually didn't have anything written down, but I thought of something. I was inspired, and I'm trying to promo. I'm gonna choose Love Mechanics just because in their promotion posters they're wearing their blue little outfits.
It works. The engineering.
That's true.
Yeah, the engineering. It's just, gotta support my boys. So.
Gotta find somewhere to work them in.
Yeah. Watch the new version, not the OG, unless you just want to see their growth as actors, because the OG is a mess. But you know what?
Yeah. And I mean, the story in itself is so much better in the new one.
Yeah.
Like, they just
you
took
get to
the
really
time
connect.
to flesh it out and just make it great. Yeah.
Kayla talking about shows that had a lot of blue in them made me think about La Pluie, which is the other currently airing BL that I'm like obsessed with. So there's a lot of like discussion around like blue coded and like red coded characters and stuff like that. But something that someone pointed out early in like the first 1 or 2 episodes of Le Pluie is that both of the main characters seem to be like blue coded. Like this is both like in the way that they dress and also just like the characterizations that are associated with like red coded versus blue coded, and also like Le Pluie is like rain and rain is water and blue, and that kind of association that you can make as well. But like there's so much blue in the wardrobe and like in the way the show was toned and stuff like that. So Kayla talking about My Beautiful Man kind of brought that one to mind for me. Just a little promo for that one. It's a good show.
Is it good? I haven't seen it.
I need to start
I really like it. I think the soulmate element that the way they're working the soulmate element in is really fun. And like I didn't have a lot of expectations about it, but like it's got me really excited every week. So
you recommend?
The chemistry is like there way more than I was expecting it to be. So
Go watch our interview with them.
Yeah, also watch our interview with the cast. Yes, that's another promo point. Slay. I'm like finding myself like, because you've been like doing this, I feel like I'm like been like doing this so much.
Yeah, I'm really toned down. Like I be doing some dumb stuff in my life. Like you don't even want to know.
Oh, me too. I feel
my vocabulary is so not internet friendly. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, like my Patreon besties, they know me. I be coming out, but like,
yeah,
I'm like a little toned down for others. No.
Yeah. I feel that so much.
I feel that.
No, you would never. Okay. So moving into violet or purple. So the meaning of violet on the flag is spirit. And this is not at all the way they intended the meaning to be.
Dude,
I already know what you're gonna say.
With the ghost stuff? Are you gonna come out with the ghost stuff again?
Yes. So I was like, spirit equals
I'm
ghost.
I'm out. I'm out.
So Alyx probably doesn't know, but like one of our most long-running jokes on here is that Pixie like hates ghost-themed BLs with like her entire soul, but like me and Kayla are like really into them. So whenever the discussion comes up, it's like me and Kayla against Pixie, and like when I'm explaining it, it's really not that funny, but like we find it so funny every single time.
I've been on some really
tangents.
Yes, rants.
Some benders
honestly.
about how much she despises ghost BLs.
You can like literally when we're talking ghost stories, you can start a counter, like a shot counter on how many times I roll my eyes.
So I tied spirit into like spirits as in ghosts, which is I don't think the meaning that the flag was going for, but you know. So my recommendation, I was like, we've talked about Ghost Host Ghost House a lot. I've talked about He's Coming to Me a lot, so I kind of wanted to promo like my fave underrated ghost BL, which I think is Something in My Room, which we've also talked about on here a lot. But I think in terms of the general public, it's the one that's kind of gotten the least love. And that's their fault for the way that they like the network that it aired on and them putting like a weird cut version on YouTube and stuff like that. But I think it's just like a really, really good ghost story. And I think it's one where the ending really does justice to the way a ghost story should end, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't kind of go the He's Coming to Me route where he like magically like finds a way to come back in the end and stuff like that, but it still finds a way to like do justice to their story and their relationship while still like taking into the as much realism as you can take into the account of someone like being in a relationship with a ghost. But like it has like a realistic ending in the way that like, spoiler, one of them lives their full life before they can like meet again in the afterlife type situation.
Did you just use realistic to describe a ghost story? Dude.
That's why I said as realistic as you can be when someone is in a relationship with a ghost, you know? I guess like realism in the fact that like the living character lived his life and died before they met again. And
Beautiful
so like
romance.
True romance right there. Kayla's got
That's
my back
traumatic
on
romance.
Oh, there's some of that in there too. Tears were shed, but I just thought like the way they handled the spirit element of the story was really well done, and also like I had to throw ghosts in there when the opportunity arose. So that was my pick.
When I saw this was on the list, I was waiting for it. I've been waiting for it. Like, I knew it was coming. I'm just like, God.
The other thing I was trying to think of, I was thinking like spirit, like you've got the spirit, and I was like, I couldn't think of anything to connect it with that way. So
where the gay cheerleaders at?
That's why I was like, where's the cheerleading BLs? We need them. But
Yeah, I spirit for me is kind of, I don't know. You know how you guys are talking about cheerleaders and stuff as like a spirit connected thing. I'm just like, we don't know that in Norway. Like, that's not a thing here. Like, spirit in that way.
There's no spirit in that way.
Yeah, no one is throwing their hands up and cheering. No, just living. No, I was thinking this in the sense that, honestly, I just had to put this show in here, but it's also a show that kind of makes me feel good, like plucks up my spirit and just
feels lifts your spirits.
Yes, I feel better watching it, and it's always just, it's like drinking cocoa. The old-fashioned cupcake.
Yeah.
They are so cute and they are so adorable, and it's kind of still a little bit messy, but it's just so, it's like one of my comfort shows. Like, I just get comforted watching it.
That works.
Yeah.
Good one.
Makes sense. Lifting your spirits. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I have to take you through my thought process for spirits, because of course the first thing I thought of was ghosts, but I intentionally didn't put a series about ghosts because I knew that Alexa would for me.
We're just connected in that way.
And I didn't want to overlap. And then I thought school spirit, like sports. So I thought maybe You're My Sky, because the whole thing is they're playing basketball, but I was like, no. And then I was like, what about something that just like embodies the spirit of like classic Thai BL?
Ooh.
So I thought of A Boss and a Babe, and maybe it's because it's so fresh in my mind, like the R Sky episodes just ended and stuff, but I just feel like it has that like classic Thai Licorne energy, but a modernized version of it. Because it never feels outdated, but it has a lot of the classic tropes in it.
Tropes. Yeah.
A lot of the
things that
classic
make
tropes.
BL. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you have the goofy sound effects, which I actually think they did really well, and I loved that the sound effects were video game sound effects, because they work at a video game company. And I loved the extreme, like, comedic acting. It's so funny and just, like, so Thai BL. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Just that exaggerated, like, body gag, facial expression acting. And I just feel like that's the beauty of Thai BL, is that it's a little silly and over-exaggerated. And this series definitely had that kind of flavor to it. And I just feel like that is the spirit of Thai BL, is just being a little silly and goofy. But still telling a really good story that still has like the emotional scenes in it and the chemistry between the characters. It's just like an elevated version of what we know.
It's a good connection.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well thought out. So I actually didn't have one, but I thought of one.
On the spot thinking.
Yeah. So we kind of go with like maybe comfort, maybe also just because I want to plug it, you know, I'm going to promote. But I'm on like a Korean BL hype train. I feel like Korean BLs are doing the thing right now. I feel like Thai BLs aren't hitting as much as they used to for me right now. Maybe it's because they're runtime. Runtime's like 45 plus minutes. I'm kind of over that. I'm like, give me 30 minutes. I don't need more than that.
That's fair. That's fair.
but a shoulder to cry on. And I know that one has trauma, has more than that. But I also feel like this show that just did really well showing like a coming of age story. So like, I don't know, maybe my spirit was lifted. I don't know. I'm just trying to put it in there. But it's also like a really good comfort show for me because I was like, the ending, I was just like, wow, like they did so good and still made me believe in this relationship even without putting any physical type of like a kiss scene. And I feel like it didn't need one because it was just that good. I was like, the story's good, the character growth is good. And I know some people out there were telling on themselves saying, oh, it's not good, there's no kissing. I'm like, girl, did you watch the show for the plot? Because it's not adding up. If 2 + 2 is 4, what are you doing? But yeah, I just gonna promo that, and also just because like, it's kind of like a comfort show for me. Even with its trauma.
Mean, it was like I'm genuinely like, I like when they have like physical things happening in shows because I think it's a natural part of relationship and should be shown. But that show had so much character, right?
Yeah.
They were it was so well written and well acted that it didn't really matter that you didn't have the physical contact.
Correct.
So I guess that like it's just all spiritual connections.
Spiritual.
It also like made sense because the characters were like, this is their first time feeling something and if navigating this new type of relationship for each other.
Babies too.
So you know, take your time.
High schoolers,
I loved it so much that I went and read the webtoon.
And I mean, it's very accurate to the
really
webtoon,
good.
is what I heard. Like, there's not even a kissing in the webtoon. I guess there is, like, maybe in, like, I think they said there's a special, but, like...
There's, like, some extra chapters or something that they put the kiss in, but it's like, barely there. So, I mean, it's true to the source material, basically.
Yeah. I was trying to think if I could, like... find a BL that ties like spirituality as in like religion and I'm pretty sure I recommended this one last year in our episode with Javi, but I came back to Your Name Engraved Herein because the whole like overarching like narration that ties that story together is the main character having the conversation with the priest, and kind of him navigating like I think it's Catholicism, because they go to a Catholic high school and I'm pretty sure he's a Catholic priest, but like navigating like that spirituality and religion with like his queer identity, and the whole story is like narrated through him like sitting in like I guess the school's church and like having this conversation with the priest, and they're kind of like arguing about like queerness and romance and like all this kind of stuff and how religion ties into that, and then like it comes around in the end, spoiler, that like the priest was also queer, and it was something that like he really struggled with like realizing and reconciling with his religion, and that's a very very sad story, so like sometimes I like struggle recommending it for that reason because it's like very very like it's not a sad ending, but it's like a very open ending, I would say, and it's a lot of trauma to get to that ending. But I think it's a really interesting discussion of like spirituality and religion and queerness. Whereas like as someone who grew up like in Christianity, there was a lot of like relatability in that aspect of it. So that was I was just like thinking if I could find something that tied those together, and that's what I came up with. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So the next on the flag was the colors black and brown, which the meaning on the flag is like to represent like people of color and like their place in the queer community and everything that they've done for like the queer community throughout its history. And like I feel like kind of all BL can be tied into that because like it's romance around queer people of color, which is like something that we don't see a lot in Western media. Western queer media is very, very whitewashed. So like I guess like I could tie it in that way, but this is the one that I actually did not have a pick for because like I was really struggling to think of other meanings to tie to it. So I'm really curious to see what you guys came up with.
So for me, this comes in like a couple of different directions. The one I would pick for this is not me. A little bit because of the character Black, but mostly because they refrained from using like the whitewashing filter. And it's very true to the actual colors of their skin. And it's just... I prefer that. Like I hate the white filter they usually have, like the perfection filter, whatever.
Bane of my existence.
Yeah, and it lends something different to the show, and it just the impact of the show is different because of it. And if they had whitened things, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
And also, like, the show is, like, very LGBTQ represented.
Very progressive and, like,
yes,
leftist in its messaging and stuff like that, which I think can tie in. Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably the one I had the most difficulty with because I felt like so much could apply to it. But I ended up going with this Pinoy BL that I'm not sure if any of you guys remember it, but Influencers.
I remember it.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I did like promotion for it for Camp Avenue Studios in the past, and I thought of this one because the whole cast were just like regular people. Like none of them were actors, and the majority of them haven't even acted since. They just kind of like did this series and then went about their lives. And they were literally just like a group of like queer LGBTQ plus Filipinos who decided to audition for this thing and ended up getting it. And the series talks a lot about mental and physical health in the LGBTQ plus community. There's a lot of talk about like depression, and even things like STDs, a lot of like honestly very educational stuff. Like it's really educational, and they had an actual doctor even play the doctor in the series. And another thing of why I chose this one is because I feel like since they're just regular people, it pushes back a lot on like beauty and body standards that are so prevalent in BL. And they're just like not trying to be anything that they're not. And I feel like that is something that my fellow POC would really appreciate, because there isn't always a lot of intersectionality, I guess. I don't know if that's the word, with like how people look in these series. So I did think of Influencers for that one.
Nice.
So I chose Love Victor. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
good.
But I mean, it's not, I was trying to think, I was like, oh, what comes to mind when I think of like people of color or like, you know, maybe struggles. And I was like, I'm Latino. So I was like, oh, like this one is about like, you know, a Latino character going through, figuring out their, you know, because have you guys seen Love, Simon?
Yes.
The movie?
Yeah.
So it's like Love, Simon's, you know, like, you know, that white character who doesn't really go through, parents accept them. It's a little bit of struggle, but it's, you know, kind of like, it's not like the story's not common, because it definitely happens to people, but I feel like a lot of people more of color have to struggle a little bit more because, you know, parents are not as accepting, especially if they're from an older generation, or like religion, which that plays into play in this story for Love Victor. So I was like, I feel like that was kind of something that I liked. I mean, there's a lot of representation in that show in general. So it's kind of good for everyone. It has a little bit of everything, but I just was like, the main character is Latino. So just going through that. Those struggles.
Yeah. I feel like we also have to mention Heartstopper.
I was just thinking about that as like people were talking. I was gonna bring that up.
I was gonna bring it up in the next point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Also, it works for the next point as well. So I was like, should I bring it up now or should I
we'll get
wait?
into it then.
Yeah. But there's also Tara, who is a black lesbian, which and a dark skinned black lesbian at that, which is like almost unheard of in media. So between her and Elle, I think there's a lot of good to talk about with Heartstopper, which we can again get into it more in the next one, which is the colors of the trans and they also included non-binary, which I know non-binary has its own flag, but non-binary people can often identify as trans as well. So the white, baby blues, and baby pink of the trans flag. And so like I feel like we probably all kind of went the route of discussing shows that have good trans representation in them. So the one I had, I think, I won't say the one that I think is most obvious in terms of like Thai BL. I actually said You're My Sky because even though the character in this Fluke, she was honestly just like a supporting character, almost more of like a guest role than like a main character in the show. But I just remember really appreciating the way that they handled her story. You know, she was on the basketball team and she identified as female and preferred to use she, her pronouns, but was still on like the men's basketball team. And I really appreciated how like they handled the story of her like still playing on the team and kind of having that discussion with her teammates. And I also think it kind of makes a point about like trans discrimination in sports, which is obviously a big issue right now. And so I think like even though she was like a smaller side character and didn't have like a huge role in the series, I thought she was like an impactful character and I liked the story that they did give her. And like the actress in real life is just like so sweet. We had a little bit of conversation with her back and forth like through the LoveCast channels. And I just like thought she was such a gem. So I wanted to like shout out her and that role for trans representation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I do feel like in like the Asian BLs, there's not a lot of obvious trans and non-binary inclusion or showing like you will see trans character but they won't be addressed, right? Like it will just be there and you have to make your own assumptions kind of thing. But yeah, I think like the show that makes it most obvious is Heartstopper, with the inclusion and just like they show LGBTQ people from a very like approachable way, kind of like they're not the scary other. They're just people. They're just kids trying to be happy. And I think that's important, especially when a lot of queer media is often sad and tragic. And like we've talked about this before in our Heartstopper episode. But yeah, I think Heartstopper was like being so happy even in its struggles, showed that you can make queer stories without going into the full-on trauma of it.
Yeah. So for this one, it's not BL, but it's adjacent to it. I had to go with the Warp Effect. Which I'm currently watching on Femmes React, their channel with them. In general, it has like so much representation in it that we either rarely see or have literally never seen in a GMMTV series or a BL or just like media in general. I thought specifically of Molly because their character who is non-binary, femme presenting, plus size, and that's something that I've never seen in anything. So they're a really cool character. And the person who plays Molly is like all these things in real life. Like
Sylvie.
Sylvie, love Sylvie. So I think it's just so cool that they had someone who actually is like non-binary play this role of a non-binary character. And the fact that that's a thing just makes the story feel more cool. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it makes everything that happens to that character feel even more genuine. Yeah. Because you could tell that it's like a serious lived experience for Sylvie. But yeah, there's so much representation in that series. Not even just Molly.
Yeah. Nice. 100%.
I'm actually thinking about restarting that series up, so now I'm more excited.
Yes. Oh, it's so good.
Okay, so I chose a show named Heartbreak High, which is not it's not BL, but it is LGBT. It has a lot of representation in a lot of different areas, and I actually just rewatched it from beginning to end again, like last week. So I was like, this is fresh in my head. Yeah, so y'all on Netflix, go watch it. But anyways, they have a character named Darren, and they are non-binary. They go by they them, and I also like that they also go by they them in real life. So it's get real representation to represent it, and I just love that because sometimes people just be casting anyone.
Exactly.
But yeah, not too many spoilers. I don't want to spoil, but there's just like a lot of like really nice scenes with them, and their story is, although they're not the main character, they get a lot of development. Like, especially like, because they just want to be loved and accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tears.
Okay, so good. I love that show. I can't wait for the second season.
I know, season 2 coming soon.
So excited. Yes. So I didn't say Daisy because I figured that someone else would have Daisy from Secret Crush on You on their list.
I was like,
everyone just assumed that everyone else would include Daisy. But so yeah, I guess general shout out to Daisy from Secret Crush on You, which she was one of the best parts of the show, honestly.
She made me cry.
Yeah. So
I also want to mention 3 Will Be Free. Because Jenny, her character has like such just like a good storyline surrounding like acceptance and discrimination and like gender affirming care, and it's just like really well done in that series. So I have to shout it out as a BL adjacent, really just a GMMTV series. Sometimes they have those gems that are just like so good with representation
hidden in there. Yeah.
Can I just like do like a shout out to Strongberry? Like everyone should just like go support Strongberry and whatever they're working on, because if you want to support people in the community, then that's a great place to start. And like Choco Milkshake was great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And long time no see. I will never forget. Never.
And currently they're doing a poll to try to figure out which story they should produce next. So everyone should go vote.
Yes.
Yeah. So is there any shows that you guys like wanted to mention before we wrap up that you didn't feel like maybe didn't fit the theme entirely, or I don't know, just wanted to throw out there? Like, I kind of already gave my Vice Versa shout out, but I'll say it again. Vice Versa. It fits so well. Watch Vice Versa. That's all I have to say.
I'm going to throw in there Light on Me. Love Light on Me.
It's a good one.
And Love Mechanics again.
Yeah.
Everyone just promo their favorite shows at this point.
There you go.
I was telling Alyx that I almost put Until We Meet Again for life because of the reincarnation aspect, but I thought that Alexa would possibly so I didn't.
I honestly didn't even think about it, but that's a good one. Yeah.
And everyone should watch To My Star.
Yes.
Yes.
Rewatch party.
To My Star is a good one for life too, I feel like, in terms of like just like the life cycle of a relationship and kind of like navigate, if you put the 2 seasons together especially. I wanted to figure out a way, because it has the word rainbow in it, to work in Gray Rainbow, which is like Nut and Karen's first series that they did way back in 2016. But like it is so like, it's so fucking sad. Like the ending is just, I'm still angry about it. How many years ago was that? Almost 8 years later, I'm still angry about the way that little, just like a short little like 4-episode special. And I'm still angry about the way that it ended, but it's called Views of Love, Gray Rainbow. So I was like, I feel like it has rainbow in the title. So I wanted to just like, in terms of pride and pride flags, you know, shout it out.
I thought of something that people seem to forgot happened, and it makes me so sad. Manner of Death.
Okay.
Right.
Like, dude.
Listen.
Why are we not, like, Alexa?
I was going to.
What?
I was trying to figure out a way to work a Max Tool series in, and I was gonna be like black equals death equals like manner of death, but like I didn't want to take away from the meaning of that like place on the flag, like as a black person.
You can
So
kind of
just
sort of.
like,
You can tie it into life.
the opposite of life is death.
No, but like he's surrounded by like dead people, but he's living. Like, dude.
But
It could be like it's showing
They are
the
surviving.
fragility of life.
Yeah.
Fragility of life.
Right?
anything to make it fit.
Yeah.
Literally.
And I mean, Max and Toll have these great like pride photo shoots that you sort of kind of connects into rainbow, right? So
Yeah.
if we're gonna do like a rainbow themed point.
I mean, we've talked about it before. In terms of BL actors who really advocate for the community, they are up there at the top of the list. So they can definitely, I think we've talked about them last year in our Pride episode too, which wouldn't surprise. It was probably me that brought them up. But yeah, I was trying to figure out a way to work them in, but my brain wasn't connecting the dots as well as it should have.
I
Sorry,
am
Max
good
and
at
Cole.
connecting dots,
Pixie's doing
even
my
if
work
they
for me.
don't exist.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up? Any last minute shout outs or connections that came to mind?
Nah, I think like if we sit here anymore, I'm just gonna start
Winging
rambling
it.
every
Throw
show
every
I've
show in there.
ever watched.
Just watch everything for Pride. That's the bottom line.
If you don't, you're homophobic.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. And on that note, don't be homophobic. Watch everything.
Don't be homophobic on Pride. It's the least you can do.
It's the least you can do.
The bar is low.
The bar is on the floor.
Very.
At this point in time in the world, the bar is really on the floor when it comes to not being homophobic. So,
Right.
Yeah.
but hopefully this episode was fun for people to watch. I'm really curious to see what everyone else's picks for shows that match colors on the flag would be and like what people's thought processes were. So
Yes.
make sure to comment down in the comments on YouTube or hit us up over on our social media. I'll be really looking forward to seeing how people kind of connected the colors and their meanings and shows and movies and stuff like that. Thank you again to Alyx for joining us. I'm so glad we finally got to do this and it was a lot of fun. I hope we get to do it again in the future. We'll always be open to it.
Let me know. I'm always available.
Yes. And we'll put Alex's Patreon and links to the YouTube and everything down in the description. So if you're not already checking out his content, make sure you go do that. Oh, cat cameo. Yes.
Yay.
We love a pet moment. But yeah, we'll leave all your links down in the description so everyone can go check you out. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with your friends while you're at it, because it all really helps out with the godforsaken YouTube algorithm.
Oh my god, it's horrible.
Yeah. And that is going to be all for this week. Happy Pride, everyone. We'll be back with more Pride-themed episodes for the rest of this month. And until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye.